Sharks are dreadful creatures, especially when a meeting turns into a dangerous adventure. Penetration into a protective cage, an attempt to bite, as well as a close contact. Wildlife is with you. In this episode, you'll see these and other most frightening moments with sharks and other underwater inhabitants caught on camera. Unexpected situation. Submergence to the sharks is really magnificent. Doing that, you get adrenaline rush and energy boost. The main thing is that you don't risk. Is it true? Judging by everything, that works in a different way. Another group of tourists planned to plunge underwater in a cage and look at the sharks closer. All went quite right, but soon a predator decided to get inside. A girl underwater started to panic and signaled to the people upstairs to let her out. As it turned out later, she did the right thing. After all, judging from this shot, the predatory fish solved the riddle. Its dimensions allowed it to get into. Here's what sharks diving really is. Personally, I believe that the previous shot could be real. There's many similar videos on the internet. Yes, the sharks don't always get right inside the cages. It cannot but please. Anyway, these fish make divers get nervous to some extent. On this video, it's the white shark that wanted to get on the diver's nerves. It swam to the bar, clung to one of its parts so hard as it was only possible. I'm sure everyone ran out of breath. Fortunately for the people, the predator lost its interest soon and swam away. In reality, despite everything looked rather safe, it's out of the question that you feel calm in case with the white sharks. These creatures are rightfully considered one of the most dangerous creatures in the whole world ocean. They reach 13 to 20 feet in length and weigh about a ton, slowly prowling the oceans and are always ready to attack another prey. If there are any potential victims at a distance of 300 feet or more, they instantly rush to them. Don't think that the big white sharks bump into their enemies and cut off their heads. Everything goes quite more careful and reasonable. They're in no hurry and thoroughly study their potential enemies. Each of them requires a different approach. If a victim is big, it makes sense to exhaust it and attack from somewhere down. If it's, on the contrary, small and nimble, it's worth speeding up and make harsher actions. If the opponent is protected or not alone, the white shark can swim and follow it until the latter loses vigilance and succumbs to the former. Extreme rest. These are exactly the two words I would use to describe what's happening on the next video. The people didn't only submerge underwater and waited until somebody approaches them, but caught a shark they needed, bothered it, and sent a tourist as a guest. The man experienced crazy emotions. The shark did nothing but tried to bump into the cage. Speaking of it, the fish was rather nimble, so if the cage had been bigger, the predator would have been able to swim inside. By the way, concerning these cages, tell me, please, what the divers have to do having a young shark inside. It'll easily overcome all obstacles and possibly be interested in men. Who can guarantee that won't happen? Have you any idea on this score? You know, judging by what particular divers go for, something prompts me that they don't even think of dangers. This scenario doesn't fear them. They're strong and brave enough to plunge underwater and near to feed a big tiger shark, swimming literally a meter away. The curious about this video is a shark trying to look in the eye to one of the divers. In his turn, fearing for his life, the guy tried to turn it away with the help of his hand. It was important not to irritate the predator and at the same time to keep a distance. Who knows what the fish could come up with? It seems to me that the man wouldn't have a chance to save himself in this case, especially because he had to do it with the tiger shark. These large predatory fish can be as long as 15 feet. They have a various diet, including crustaceans, fishes, sea mammals, birds, cephalopods, sea snakes, and even turtles. What's more, people found in their stomachs even uneatable objects. The scientists explain that by the fact that the tiger sharks have a good appetite and increased curiosity. If they liked something, they'd try it anyway, at least once. Even if that smells bad, they'll try their luck. This is a perception that they form such a character due to their dominant position in the ocean. After all, the only threat for the tiger sharks are orcas. Anyhow, as the tiger sharks are big and prefer to swim in the tropical waters, they encounter those dolphins killers extremely rare. Along with this, these predators find it easy to hunt. Nature gave them everything they need for that. For example, the electromagnetic receptors placed on the tip of the nose. They're full of jelly-like substance, reading electromagnetic signals received from living creatures. The shark sends this data from the pores into the sensitive nerves and then to the brains to process and use them to their own benefit. White shark. Let's look at the great white shark. If you ask me, I was shivering while watching this clip. Couldn't take my eyes off its mouth, dotted with razor-sharp teeth. I looked at them and imagined the great white shark wielding them, not leaving its victims even the slightest chance for survival. After all, there are so many of them that they resemble a meat-mincing machine. If you add the gripping force of the predator, which is considered one of the most powerful in the whole world, you better not plunge into the water. Even an iron cage won't rescue. By the way, do you know how to present this colossal force the white shark needs to bite its enemies? The scientists supposed a curious analogy. They compare its bite to the falling of a building block weighing 2 tons. Lemon shark. Here's another shark species we're going to talk about. Whereas the white or tiger sharks are very aggressive, the lemon shark causes ambiguous feeling. Some relate it to the same sinister creatures you'd better go around. Others, on the contrary, think that these predators are as friendly as it's possible. What's true? Nobody for sure will tell, at least for now. On the other hand, we can watch the clip with the participation of the lemon sharks and come to conclusions for ourselves. It lasts just a couple of minutes and shows a man with a camera sitting completely motionless on the bottom of the ocean. He looks at fish around, shoots those interested in him, and so on. As the shooting comes to an end, an unexpected phenomenon takes place. Tiny lemon shark tries to bite a diver at his leg. Of course, it was out of the question that the shark would injure the man. He was very young, her teeth were not big enough. But anyway, what was that? Was it pure curiosity or aggression shown at such a young age? You can write your opinion in the comments. While you're writing, I'll tell you about these wonderful creatures. In the wild, they're as long as 11 feet, weigh 440 pounds, and lead a night way of life, preferring to live in schools. This way, the lemon shark defends their juvenile generation and avoids contacting with other predators. After all, there's hardly anybody who will attack a whole school, right? Even if the enemy is risky enough to feed on somebody, it'll lose its life, which isn't worth it. By the way, I wanted to add that the lemon shark does hardly ever feel hungry. After all, the fish can practice cannibalism. Yes, it's a tiny share of the predators doing that. However, that happens. Attack. Now what you're about to see in this clip will absolutely shock you. I've never seen such brazenness from a fish before. A tiger shark, which, as I've said today, is quite aggressive, decided to try its luck at hunting humans. It circled around the divers for a few minutes, pretended to swim away, and then abruptly returned. Sometimes it just got pretty brazen and started to ram. Luckily, the divers who are underwater had everything they needed and were able to fight back without any problems while remaining unharmed. I don't know, it seems to me that if the divers hadn't been alone, or at least without long and sharp weapons, the shark would have brought its hunt to a logical conclusion. It's not for nothing that the percentage of successful attacks made by tiger sharks is one of the highest in nature among all other sharks. This time the center of attention was a diver taking underwater pictures. The man didn't have any protective arsenal on him, just held a camera in his hands and hoped for the best. And you know, it turns out that sometimes enough is enough. Even though the tiger shark still tried to attack him, to somehow bite or at least take the camera with it, the man resisted, his nerve didn't waver, and he made the shark escape. This is a great example that the most important thing is to be confident in yourself and your abilities, wherever and with whomever you are. It's like with dogs, the animals sense anxiety and worry from the creature opposite and either continue to intimidate it, feeding on its fear, or simply retreat, sensing their opponent's steadfastness and the futility of the endeavor. Personally, I would only go underwater if accompanied by a whole group of professionals. I'd make sure everyone was armed with something serious for emergencies, focused, and constantly looking around. Because this video shows that it's not safe underwater. You could be attacked at any moment by a predatory creature. And if it suddenly turns out to be a shark, there'll be no chance of rescue at all. It's not ceremonious and immediately marks the head. In this case, the diver was lucky that there were people around to back him up. They immediately closed the predator's mouth, placing a special stick inside it, and saw that no harm would come to their colleague. And now let's look at how divers encounter other underwater creatures. Take it from me, it'll be no less interesting. If you think a shark attack is the worst thing that can happen, then you just haven't seen a marina eel attack yet. In this video, at first, nothing dangerous or serious was happening at all. The situation was as quiet as it could be, when suddenly it appeared on the horizon, an aggressive marina defending its home territory. It chased away the gigantic relative to her diver and encouraged him not to come back here again. It's funny how such a small creature can instill so much fear. Actually, there's an explanation, and it's even scientific. The thing is that these fish have two pairs of jaws, just like the alien from the movie with the same name. Instead of sucking up their food as most fish do, marinas use a hidden pair of throat jaws to grab and propel prey as soon as it's trapped in its front jaws. The teeth of a marina's front jaws are pointed backwards so that the prey has virtually no chance of breaking free. Simply put, this is some horror in the flesh that it's best to not mess with. Don't take what doesn't belong to you. This is how octopuses live, and this meeting with divers confirmed it once again. When people tried to take samples of his house, the monster with tentacles made them realize that they'd better not do it. However, the divers were not satisfied with the usual warning. They thought to themselves, "Come on, what's an octopus gonna do?" And as it turned out, the creature could. The monster of the deep pounced on one of the men and stuck to his camera. It wasn't long before the filming ended, apparently because the other men went to help their colleague and didn't get to see the full scene. Oh, and actually, you don't have to be a menacing and annoying octopus to demand your rights. These people have a nerve to film the lives of underwater creatures without permission, the animals think. Even a turtle is outraged, sharply attacking the diver with a camera. Give us a like if you didn't expect such a quick move from a creature with a shell. It's okay if a man is attacked by a turtle. An adult person can definitely resist it. But what if an orca does this? These cetaceans are one of the most, if not the most, dangerous predators underwater in the whole world. The man in this video wasn't wishing them evil at all. He was just filming the orca from the side and coincidentally almost collided with it as the fish was swimming in the opposite direction. He was lucky that this toothed whale was in a good mood, but for that, we wouldn't see this video, if you know what I mean. Orcas are some of the most advanced predators in the world. They're 25 feet long and weigh over 7 tons. They live in oceans all over the world and enter many seas, preferring the cold ones. Orcas spend most of their time at depths of 65 to 200 feet in search of food. They can dive to a depth of 1,000 feet or so conversely visit shallow waters. They can do anything. The secret of success in any case is their marvelous intelligence. Thanks to it, they successfully hunt any other underwater monster, even the most skittish, cautious, fast, strong, or large. As for attacking humans, there are no documented cases in the wild, and there are two options here. Either they don't exist because orcas don't leave witnesses, or they actually feel sorry for them and me and just make us watch them hunt someone else. Why? So that we can run home and hurry to tell our acquaintances about almost invincible creatures underwater that we should be afraid of. We're lucky that we don't live at the same time with Megalodon. Anyway, many people believe that it exists until now. Is it so? Let's find out. Megalodon in the Mariana Trench. Japanese marine researchers set up a huge bait cage and a pressure-resistant video camera and flashlight in the Mariana Trench. The people hoped to capture a new species of creature or just get unique footage, and they succeeded. A huge shark, presumably a megalodon, was caught on camera. Its weight was clearly dozens of tons, and its aggressive behavior was fully consistent with all the stories about this predatory fish. According to biologists, such large sharks do not exist in the world. At least, scientists have never encountered similar ones. Nevertheless, a lot of skeptics got into this story, believing that all this video is nothing more than a staging and a hoax. What do you think? Could someone really have faked this footage? Or did people wrongly consider megalodons extinct? And this is a direct proof of that. Leave your guesses in the comments. Well, while you're writing your opinion, I'll share mine. Considering that this case is not the only potential proof of the existence of these super predators, I begin to believe more and more in what's happening. The fact is that not so long ago, in Yamal, Russia, scientists stumbled upon the jaw of a megalodon. Of course, it wasn't fresh, it was just an ordinary fossil. Nevertheless, its size and shape lead scientists and ordinary people to believe the impossible. No, really, what else creature could have a jaw measuring 5 feet in length, 3.2 feet in width? It has many triangular-shaped teeth, 2 to 3 inches long. You have to agree that it's unlikely that a common shark could have such a large size. By my logic, there's no one left but Megalodon that fits this candidacy. It's not even hiding. That's what all those who believe in Megalodon will now think. This footage was taken from a high point of a ship full of research students. People were lucky enough to see with their own eyes a shark of simply gigantic, abnormal size. According to my senses, it was 2 or even 3 times the size of all the other sharks. Once again, I personally find it hard to believe that this is an ordinary species of shark with some deviation in terms of size. But the version about megalodons lurking somewhere in the depths and accidentally showing itself to people doesn't sound so stupid anymore. It's a pity it was just students, not a trained group of divers and ocean explorers. They would have quickly put a motion detector on that shark, taken good shots out of the water, and could have said for sure what it was. Well, in the meantime, we have to limit ourselves to our own theories, which, by the way, I suggest you share in the comments. Tooth. I wonder if the shark that lost this tooth planned to give it to the tooth fairy and get some kind of gift in return. Judging by its size, it must have been a very good gift. Okay, jokes aside, a Florida diver found a real underwater dweller's tooth. Particularly surprising in this story is that the tooth has just enormous size, 6 inches long. What creature could have such a tooth? Judging by its shape, it's clearly not a sperm whale tooth, and in that case, to which creature, if not to the giant shark, could it even belong? In my opinion, this is yet another wake-up call to scientists that Megalodon was swimming, or is swimming, somewhere underwater. By the way, the protagonist of the previous story is not the only one who has a Megalodon tooth in his collection. Here's another lucky guy. This guy is a 6-year-old Briton. The boy, along with his father, was walking on the Bawdsey Beach in Suffolk, UK, which is popular with fossil seekers. And the family was lucky. They found a really rare and impressive artifact. As you understand, I'm talking about a giant tooth of a giant shark. A 4-inch long tooth, barely fitting in the palm of a child's hand, was shown to an evolutionary biologist who confidently stated that it was the tooth of a megalodon. And now if we compare that it's a megalodon tooth, remember past story or the one where people found a fossilized jaw, and then project all this onto huge creatures underwater with the same body shape, we can conclude that megalodons really do swim somewhere in our waters to this day. Am I wrong about something? A real tragedy. The following story could be described that way because it's of the saddest possible nature. In 2013, a group of tourists was sailing the waters in South Africa, and nothing seemed to be going wrong when all of a sudden someone attacked their boat. Of course, I'm talking about an attack from below. However, in order for this process to be successful for a predator, it needs to be extremely large and strong, because otherwise this boat simply cannot flip over. And unfortunately, that's what it turned out to be. You look how quickly and easily the boat was overturned, and panic and screaming began on the boat. The story, as you've already realized, has a sad ending. None of the bodies were found by the rescuers. There's been controversy for years about what creature could have done such a thing. It's hard to believe it was a whale. These creatures do not usually show a desire to eat people. That leaves us to believe it was a giant shark, the one which name begins with the letter M. A 30-foot-long shark was caught on camera by ordinary sailors in South Carolina. The most amazing thing in this story is that the creature crept up on people quite suddenly and unnoticed. That's what I call an experienced and intelligent fish. According to the sailors, a number of signs of the shark indicated that it was still small, but how big in such a case could it grow? Do you think it could have been a baby megalodon? Or did the sailors make a mistake and it was just an ordinary shark? Write what you think about this in the comments. We've learned quite a few different stories in which people caught giant sharks on camera, found unthinkable teeth, and something else. But still, what was Megalodon really? I suggest we delve into its history to better understand all those clips I showed you and come to an unequivocal conclusion as to whether one of them could have shown a real prehistoric predator. Megalodon is a famous relative of modern sharks, presumably extinct about 2.5 million years ago. The fish was of enormous size and occupied a unique ecological niche, which made its behavior significantly different from any species of sharks known today. First of all, it's worth noting the similarities with whales, especially the fact that megalodons were supposedly warm-blooded creatures. This means that they were able to maintain a constant body temperature, which ordinary sharks were not able to do. The second vector is speed. Megalodons moved at about the same speed as fin whales do today, about 30 miles per hour. They also had a low level of endurance and a slow metabolic process. But despite all these seemingly weak characteristics and features, megalodons occupied the highest place in the food chain, and almost no one else could compete with them. But first things first. Megalodon size. The size of this fish is really impressive. According to scientists, it was somewhere between 60 to 82 feet long and weighed more than 40 tons. Just so you understand, the length of the shark was equal to about 5 or more cars standing in a row. Not a bad size, right? Well, with such a huge body, it's impossible to be weak. Because of its weight, Megalodon could break through the chest cavity of a small cetacean with a single collision at speed. Habitat. If you think that with such an abnormal size, this shark must live somewhere at a maximum depth, you're greatly mistaken. In fact, Megalodon used to hang out in coastal areas. That's evidenced by the many teeth found there. And no, they weren't found there because of the current. It was a good place for the fish to breed, and it liked to swim in warmer waters. Why is it so big? This is the question many uninformed people who first hear about this giant shark will ask themselves. Indeed, why has Megalodon grown to such an impressive size? Well, some other sharks or other creatures remain tiny compared to it. Actually, the answer is rather simple. Remember when I told you about its slow metabolism? Well, this feature and the shark's large size were the result of the high oxygen level in the places where the fish lived. It was because of this that Megalodon grew to such a large size. Nowadays, however, this level has dropped, and no one is physically able to exceed the size of the blue whale. And yes, the blue whale is clearly not smaller than the legendary large shark, but it feeds exclusively on plankton, which is very, very abundant. But Megalodons ate only fish. Very big fish. So does it exist after all? The factors I mentioned earlier and many other factors suggest that Megalodon could not have survived in today's environment. Other predators are much more agile and nimble, which means that food for such a large fish would be in short supply. On the other hand, there are hard facts in the form of eyewitness videos. They clearly show the tracks of a giant creature, which by any means is not a whale. It's impossible to understand what it is if not a whale. We can only guess and stand on one side. You're either for the fact that Megalodon is alive, or you're sure that this is nothing more than a hoax or prank by modern underwater creatures or humans. What surprised you the most? Write in the comments. Later on, I'll show you the biggest whale caught on camera. Early observations. The largest animal in the world is the blue whale. Moreover, it's the largest animal of all time, so we're lucky to live at the same time as these giants. On average, blue whales reach 100 feet in length and weigh about 330,000 pounds. However, there have been larger creatures. The largest recorded individual was a female slaughtered by whalers in 1926 near the South Shetland Islands in Antarctica. It was 110 feet long. This whale was not weighed, but its mass was apparently well over 330,000 pounds. There's also evidence that in 1947, near South Georgia, whalers caught a 418,000-pound blue whale. A whale weighing about 399,000 pounds is also known. Unfortunately, the observations were early, so there are no photos or videos of these individuals. We have to take the eyewitness's word. But what about real giants caught on camera? There are some, and one of them seems to have broken the all-time record. In 2012, a giant blue whale swam into the coastal waters of Australia. It was about 100 feet long and weighed over 441,000 pounds. The marine giant was seen by a group of tourists on a boat in the waters of Sydney Harbor. Blue whales in these places are very rare in general, let alone one weighing more than 440,000 pounds. They're rare even on the high seas, and it's an unbelievable luck to catch such a giant on camera by the bay. Antarctic subspecies. In general, it must be said that the blue whale is not the largest animal on the planet. More precisely, it is indeed the largest, but to be as precise as possible, the blue whale is a species that includes several subspecies. It's among these subspecies that we should look for a record breaker, and the Antarctic blue whale it is. The main difference of the subspecies is a larger size, but in general, the Antarctic blue whale is the same as the common blue whales. This giant is astonishing in size. These giants regularly grow to 100 feet or more and weigh over 397,000 pounds. Even such a land giant as the African bush elephant would seem dwarfed by this Antarctic inhabitant because one such whale alone weighs as much as 30 elephants. In order to stay in shape and remain always large, the Antarctic blue whale must eat well, and it has no problem with that. It can eat over 3.5 tons of krill in a day. Scientists did simple calculations and concluded that an Antarctic blue whale eats about as much food in just a couple of weeks as an average human in 70 years. That's saying a lot. In addition to an incredible appetite, the Antarctic blue whale boasts an incredible heart. These giants have a big heart in every sense of the word. First, blue whales are good-natured creatures that don't attack people. And second, the heart of the Antarctic giant is comparable in size to a car and weighs about a ton. Plus, the whale's tongue alone weighs 4 tons. It's all the more surprising that with all these giant body parts, the throat of the blue whale is tiny, only 4 inches in diameter. So there's no question of any people in the stomachs of whales. All's well in Antarctic blue whales and blue whales in general, except for the population size. Unfortunately, the blue whale is an endangered species. No more than 10,000 individuals remain in the wild, so it's possible that these giants will be gone in our lifetime. But let's not talk about such sad things. Let's switch to a mini quiz. Do you know which whales follow the blue whales in terms of size? If you thought fin whales, you were right. The fin whale or herring whale is a species of whale in the rorqual whale family with a respectable size. They're not much inferior to blue whales in length. It's as much as 88.5 feet. However, they weigh considerably less, about 154,000 pounds. Fin whales inhabit the whole world but are found practically only in the open sea. These shy giants try to avoid coastal areas. Fin whales can be called the tricksters of the whale world. They swim fast, dive well, and deeply and maneuver well. The maximum recorded speed of the fin whale is 31 miles per hour, and the depth of diving exceeds 820 feet. Due to its agility, the fin whale can outrun many giant blue whales and can feed not only on krill and plankton, but also on small schooling fish. That's all, guys. Would you like to see a giant whale in person? Let me know in the comments. Thank you for watching, and see you later.